Okay, it's Michelle here again at Hesketh Emporium and Headbands for Heroes UK as well. So I wanted to do a quick little video for a few people who seem to be having trouble recently with their machines. Now the first thing you need to do is go and look in the files section on Headbands for Heroes UK, and you will find on there a short video on how to maintain your machine. So the most important thing is to keep it clean. So get your machine clean first. Once you've done all of the things that they suggest in that video, then you can maybe have a look at this and see if any of these things that I'm going to suggest help as well. So let's go over to this machine. I'll show you two different machines as well. So assuming your machine is now clean, this is a front-loading bobbin machine. Principles are very similar, and I'll show you one on a top-loading bobbin machine as well. So one of the things that a lot of people have trouble with is their bobbin winding. So if you don't wind your bobbin on correctly, it's going to be too loose. And the way to test for that is to press your nail into it. If it's looks fairly well tightened into the bobbin case, similar to what a reel of cotton looks like, then it's probably fine. If, however, you put your nail into it and it's spongy and bouncy, you've probably wound your bobbin incorrectly and it's too loose. Quite often that is because you haven't put it around one of the springs that's needed to keep tension onto your winder. So make sure you've done that first of all. Check your bobbin first of all. Okay, once you've actually ascertained that your bobbin is wound correctly, the other thing you need to do then is to check that your bobbin tension is right. Now this is something that most people don't do because they don't know about it. But bobbin tension is maintained by this spring here. So when you take your bobbin out, you engage your bobbin if you've got a front-loading bobbin in this way, okay? So this is how my bobbin goes into my machine, the case, and this is how my bobbin goes in. On a front loader, it must be in the shape of a P. Keep the shape of the P and then take your bobbin case and engage the two together, all right? Then you put your thread through the little slot and you pull it until it clicks into there. Now, once you've done that, you want to hold your bobbin, and you will at some point lose your bobbin doing this, but that's okay. I do it all the time. It needs to be able to hold your bobbin on the string without dropping. However, it mustn't be too tight that when you give it a very slight jerk like that, your bobbin should drop and stop straight away. If it doesn't stop straight away and it just reels off, that is too loose. Okay, so the ideal tension is that it holds it, it drops it, and it maintains at that position. What to do if it's too loose or too tight? That little screw. Can you see that little screw there? They look a little bit different on, sorry, it's this one on this bobbin, on each one. But you need a small precision screwdriver, and what you're going to do is in tiny increments, you're going to turn that like less than a millimeter at a time. Clockwise is tightening and anti-clockwise is loosening your thread. Once you've done 1 millimeter, you do another test. Once you get it, repeat until it's right. Once you've got that right, your machine will now have the correct bobbin tension. So now you engage your bobbin, hold that, pop that back in where it belongs, and you know your bobbin is now at least right. The next thing is make sure somebody hasn't walked past, a child, and messed around with your upper tension. There's normally a line on it which will help you, so use that as your guide to start with. Also, make sure that when you've wound it, that it has actually, sorry, not wound, when you've threaded it, that it has actually gone into the tension discs. Within these spaces here, This here controls how tight these two discs are that squash your thread. Now, if you've got your presser foot down, you need to raise it to thread your machine. When you raise your presser foot, it opens the discs to allow the thread to pull freely. Okay? When you lower your presser foot, it grips the thread and it now stops it, or tightens it and stops it from pulling too much. And that's how your machine maintains its thread tension both up and down. So you're going to rethread your machine. Little tip, always cut your thread on an angle. Don't cut it straight, cut it at an angle like that. That microscopic angle, you might not be able to see it, but the machine and the eye can. Okay, so you thread up your machine once again. Make sure when you do that, it's really important that over here, do you want to zoom down here a bit for me, please, Mark? When you pull your thread, quite often what happens is this loop goes around the back here and creates a little loop over your needle. So that must be removed beforehand. So you just unwind that again, pull it out so that your thread is going directly from the front to the back and out the other side. So that is your top tension now, hopefully has been fixed, and your bottom one has now been fixed as well. So pull your threads back up and give it a test. This is a lot of trial and error. You've just got to keep testing it as you go, small increments at a time. Don't change anything too major when you're doing these changes. Another thing, make sure that your feed dogs are actually up. Who knows, sometimes these things happen, we bump things, and it could have changed. So, when we, while I'm here, pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners and paintbrush. That's what you're going to use to clean your machine. Please don't blow into your machine to get rid of the dust. All you're doing is embedding the dirt further into the machine where you cannot get to and clean. So just use the things that you've got around to clean it out. And your vacuum cleaner, of course, does a fantastic job as well. So now we're going to move over to this machine over here. This is a top loading machine, but the principles are the same. So, except you don't have the same bobbin tension things that you do on the other front loader. And I am not going to do that right now. So, on this machine, if you look... Is it on? Yes. Right. This one is a drop-in bobbin. Don't do that. Blow in. But look here. There is some dirt in here. But these are the important things here. You've got a little groove here or a break in this metal bobbin case. That's where the thread needs to go. But equally, when you pull it, it needs to make a little clicking sound, which is very, very slight. So this drops into the machine on this one, and it comes clockwise around, and it goes into that groove. And when I pull it gently to the left, you can hardly hear it, but you can feel it click into the little tensioning discs at the bottom. Make sure that that's working correctly. And that's how these machines work. Now, you may have been doing the same thing for years, but honestly, machines are very temperamental sometimes, and for whatever reason, it could be getting jammed up. So that's what you need to try next if you're having trouble. Try all of those things, please. Make sure your machine is actually clean and follow all of those instructions. And if you're still having trouble, then get back to me on Headbands for Heroes UK. Thanks, ladies and gents. Have a lovely afternoon. Bye-bye.